Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ren Kai-Xu. Welcome to the fifth session of our GIS online course. Today, we are delighted to have Professor Jhih-Fong Tseng from the undergraduate program of the Intellectual Creative Engineering at the National Zhongxin University as our guest speaker. So, artificial intelligence has a long history, and Professor Tseng will introduce us to its past development and the challenges, as well as explain why there is a new wave of the excitement in the recent year. With Professor Deng's experience at the TSMC, Professor Deng has a clear understanding of the smart material and the smart manufacturing, and he has extended his expertise to the field of the smart city, where he will demonstrate how the AI can be applied to the various industry, service, and the new product and the innovations. So through this course, Professor Deng will tell us that as artificial intelligence continue to evolve, it might be bring the impact and the influence to people's future life. So let's welcome Professor Deng. So Professor Deng, please.
Okay, thank you for your introduction for me. All right, so I'm Stanley. Also, I'm Zhih-Fong. Also, you can call me Stanley. That is okay. I welcome everyone to raise your question during this talk. All right, if you have any problem. So I always give my audience an overall picture about this course because we only have 2 hours, around 2 hours. So I want you to know what is AI during this course and why we need it and how to apply it. All right. I just want everyone know that during the 2 hours, you may know what is AI and why you need it and how to apply it. All right. So if you know the overall concept, and we will start with it. So in the first slide, as you can see, I just want to let you know what is AI. AI is an approach to make a computer, a robot, to think about how smart human beings think. All right? And because once we can teach, okay, if we can teach the machine or the computer what we think about, and then they would help us to make the decision. All right? So I just want to let you know the reason why we need it and what is AI. The AI is that the AI is to help us and to to teach the computer behave as the human beings. All right? Because if we can teach the machine to do so, and then they will help us to make the decision to solve the problem. So we want the computer behave as the human beings, and that is what we call machine learning or artificial intelligence. Again, I have to let you know what is AI. We intend to teach the computer to behave as the human beings, and then they would help us to solve the problem, to make the decision. All right? So if you know that, and I will remind you that, how can you communicate with computer? How can you do that? You might use code. All right? You might use code. In machine learning field, I would suggest you to learn Python because there are a lot of packages developed in Python. Once you know the methodology, and then you can apply the package through Python. All right? So again, what is AI? We want the computer to behave as the human beings to help us to make the decision to solve the problem. And how can we communicate with computer? We have to use code, especially the Python code. All right. So and then we will move to the next slide. I always use this slide to teach my student what is our decision process, because if we know the decision process, and we will know the reason why we need AI. All right. Suppose that Stanley or Zhih-Fong have an important day tonight, all right? When I get up early at 7 o'clock in the morning, okay, I would dress up myself, had a perfect hairstyle, and I would dress up myself and go out for work. Okay, but, can you see my mouse? Can you see my mouse here? But when I go for work and I see the scene like this one, I have three choices to go for work. The first one is that I would take the train, the first option here. Can you see this one? And the second option is that I would drive the car to go for work. And the third one, or the final one, I would ride a motorcycle. And I have to let you know, if I don't want to be late for work and I have arrived my working place before 8:30. All right? So if you were me, how can you choose which transportation tool, which one? I want you to think about. If you were me, and which transportation you would take? The first one and the second one, or the third one, and tell me the reason why you choose this. Okay, so can I see some student list here? And can you help me to answer the question? Alex? Oh, okay.
I will select use the MRT, I mean the train, because under the thunderstorm weather, the traffic accident risk will be increased and it's not quite safe, especially when we are wake up very early. Our brain is not working very well, so use the train will be better.
Okay, got it. That is perfect. And thank you for your answering. All right, anyone can answer me questions if you want. Okay, come on, one more. Come on, one more. One more. Okay, so if there's no further answer, I will let you know. Okay, I know there are several choices for you guys. You also can take the MRT. You also can drive the car because you want to keep your hairstyle. That is okay. But did you know that I want you to focus on this picture over here? Why? Because when you see the figure or the thing outside the window, and you would jump on the conclusion whether it will rain or not. Am I correct? If you assume that it is high possible to rain right away, and then you would take the MRT. Am I correct? Because you want to avoid the rush hour and go for work before 8:30. Am I correct? So, why Stanley want you to answer the question and tell me the reason why? Because Stanley want you to let me know what is your decision process. Because I see the scene outside the window and I predict it is high possible to rain right away, and then I would take MRT to go for work. Am I correct? So I just want to let you know the decision process around our daily life. We have to make the decision each time when we have some problem. Am I correct? Okay. So suppose that if you have the weather report last night around 11 o'clock, and come on, take a look at here. Can you see the mouse? And the weather report tell you that it is high possible it will rain tomorrow. So can you let me know what is your decision? Can you let me know? Come on. And anyone can tell me the answer and tell me the reason why. Come on. Anyone?
Well,
No?
the 8:30, that is a restricted reason, which means I should go to work before 8:30. And the variant reason is the rain, or not rain, because rain will make the traffic accident risk higher, and you'll be make the driving speed getting slower. So if it will be rain, this variant reason will make me to make decision, which is a go to the MRT, because MRT will not affect by the rain.
Okay, good. Thank you for your answering. So I just want to let you know, once you have a reliable prediction result, you can use the resulting outcome to help you to make a decision. Am I correct? So Stanley would say that if I assume the weather report is reliable, and then I would get up early to go for work because I want to drive the car. Did you know what Stanley talked about? Of course, you can take the MRT to go for work because you don't want to get up early. That is okay. But for Stanley, come on, Stanley want to keep the hairstyle. I want to dress up myself to go for the important day tonight. So I want to get up early because I want to drive the car to go for work. Okay, so what Stanley want to tell you guys first, we have to make the decision each time in our daily life. All right, but why can't we jump on the conclusion? Why? Because we have a lot of experience during our life. Did you remember? So for me, because Stanley is 42 years old, so I have 42 years experience. For you guys, you have different experience, and you would use the experience to help you to make the decision. Am I correct? Once you have the experience, and you would think about what is the possibility, and then you will make the decision. Am I correct? So I just want to let you know the decision process. And let's talk about the AI. Okay? What is AI? We want the machine to help us to make the decision. Am I correct? So we want to train them. All right? How can we train it? We have to give the machine with the data. Am I correct? Okay? So what is the data? In this case, the data would be the picture or the weather report. For example, the temperature, the humidity, and so on and so forth. Am I correct? Also, the past experience can be treated as the data. Am I correct? So I just want to let you know why we need it, because we have a lot of a problem, or we have to make a lot of decision. We want the machine help us to make the decision. All right. Regarding what is the data can be treated as the past experience, because we can base on the experience to jump on the conclusion to help us to make the decision. Am I correct? Once we come out a reliable prediction result, and then we can use the prediction result to make the decision. Am I correct? In this case, if I want to keep my hairstyle or to dress up myself, I have to get up early because it is high possible to rain tomorrow. So I have to do so. Am I correct? So I want to use this example to let you know we have a lot of a problem around our daily life, and we have to solve the problem to make the decision. Okay, but how can we do that? We can make the decision based on the experience, but for machine, the experience can be treated as data. All right. Is that okay for you guys? If you don't have problem, let's see how can we develop the model. First, we must have the data. Am I correct? Also, the data will be related to the outcome. Am I correct? For example, if you want to predict whether it is raining or not, you would use temperature, humidity, or the speed of the wind. Am I correct? Also, you have to choose the model. And finally, you have to visualize the result. All right? So I usually tell my audience or the student about that. There are three components to complete an analysis report. The first part is that you have to collect the data related to the result, and then you should find out appropriate model to solve the problem. All right, and there I will let you know the model. Okay, what is model? All right, and finally, because you want to explain to other people or you want to explain to the user, so you have to visualize your result. Okay, for example, if you were me, it is more easy to understand whether it is rain or not by figure instead of the number. For example, come on, you tell me that X is around 60%, it will rain tomorrow. I would like to see, oh, there is an umbrella symbol, and I will see that, I will understand that it will rain tomorrow. All right. So I just want to let you know, collect the data and the data related to the result. And then I would choose the appropriate model to derive the result. And finally, because I want to explain the result to the user, so I have to visualize it. Okay? But in school, we mainly focus on model. But today, Stanley would let you know, model is a part of machine learning, but data itself with the high value. All right? Most important is that you have to collect the right data and then you will produce the right result. Okay? Also, you have to explain the result to your users, so you have to visualize it. Okay? So keep in mind, what is AI? You want the machine behave as the human beings to help us to make the decision. And how can we train it? We have to use the experience. For computer, the experience can be treated as the data, all right? And there are three components to complete an analysis report. The first part is data. The second part is model. And finally, we have to visualize it, okay? So I want you to change your mind. Model is a part of analyze report. Okay? So why can you make the decision? Because you have the past experience. Am I right? Okay? Because for Stanley is 42 years old, so I have experienced a lot of weather condition. So I know if once I see the scene outside the window, I will see whether it is rain because I have the experience. So if I want to train the computer to know it, I have that the computer to know how can I make the decision and collect the data. All right. So I just want to let him know, why can I, Stanley, make the decision? Because I have the experience, and the experience can be treated as data. And if we want to let the computer know what is it and what is the possible result, we have to use so-called data or experience to train it. All right? So there's another example for this one. So did you know that these people Can I see? Can you see my mouse over here? Because I choose these two people because these two persons because they did not donate the vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine for Taiwan. So I choose these two persons. Okay. So I assume you guys may know. Okay. Please allow me to introduce them. The first one is Mark. The second one is Kuo-Hsin. All right. Why you guys would know these two persons? Because you have seen them for several times in the past. Why? You can see the description over here. This is Mark Liu. Okay? So you have different angle of these people, different figures of these people. Okay? Also, you have seen the description of this one here. Am I correct? Because you have learned who he is in the past. And once you have a picture and you will see, oh, come on, this is Mark. Come on, this is Kuo-Hsin. That is okay. Because you have known them. All right? So again, we have to know the value of the data because once we want to train the model or we want to let the computer know the decision process, we have to let it know the data. All right? Usually, we have a lot of data collected in our daily life. But did you remember what Stanley talked about? We need the data related to the result. Did you remember? Because otherwise, it would be garbage in, garbage out. For example, come on. For example, if you want to predict the weather condition tomorrow, all right? Would you use the height of the height of Stanley? Did you know what Stanley talked about? Would you use the factor the height of Stanley to predict whether it is rain or tomorrow, whether it is rain or not tomorrow? Would you use the factor the height of Stanley to predict whether it is rain or not tomorrow? Come on, will you do that? No. Why? Because it is obviously that there is no correlation among these two variables. So you do not do so. All right? So I just want to let you know, you have a lot of experience during your daily life. That is okay. But you have to think about why you can jump on the conclusion and why you can make the decision. You will say, based on the evidence, blah, 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 blah. And then I would jump on the conclusion. Am I correct? So I want you to collect the right data and fit into the model. Oh, come on, that is the point you would have. Is that okay for you? So again, once you want to complete the analysis report, there are three components. The first one is data. The second component is model. The third component is visualization. Okay? Especially, I want you to know that the most important thing is the data because garbage in and garbage out. So you have to collect the data related to the result, okay? Because otherwise it will be garbage in and garbage out. Any questions? Come on, any questions? No? Okay, so I just want to let you know there are several types of model you will learn. In this picture, I just want to let you know, come on, can you see the classification and clustering and regression? Can you see the figure over here? Usually, the machine learning algorithm can be divided into two parts. The first part is supervised, the other part is unsupervised. Okay, so the classification and the regression can be treated as the supervised learning because they have label data. And why Stanley want you to take a look at the screen over here? Because did you remember Stanley tell you that there are a lot of package developed by Python. So if you want to apply the model regarding, for example, kernel approximation, SVC, and then you can use scikit-learn in Python. Okay, this is the reason why I want you to take a look at here. Okay, and then there is another algorithm developed by Keras. If you want to apply neural network, you would use Keras. Right now, you can use the TensorFlow. That is okay. Okay, so Stanley want you to know the reason why you need AI because you want the AI help you to make the decision. But how can you train it? You can use the data, and the data can be treated as the experience. All right. And then the model can be found at scikit-learn or Keras. All right? Is that okay for you? Okay. So did you remember Stanley tell you that there are two types? There are two types in machine learning, basically. The first one is supervised and unsupervised. But today, we only have 2 hours, so I briefly introduce the supervised learning, okay? Is that okay for you? Okay, so what is supervised learning? It means that the data itself, you have the result, you also have the variable. You intend to use the variable to predict the result, okay? So the result or the label data can be classification or regression. What does that mean? It means that whether the prediction result is discrete or category, or the result could be continual variables such as the stock price. Can you get my point? I just want you to have overall pictures, okay? The machine learning can be divided into 2 parts, okay? The first part could be supervised and the other part could be unsupervised. What is the difference among the 2 fields? That is the prediction result, whether they have the label data or not, okay? But today we will talk about supervised learning. The supervised learning can be categorized as 2 fields. The first one could be classification. The other one could be regression. What is the difference among classification and regression? The main difference is that the prediction result belong to continuous or categorical data. Okay? Are you okay? Can you get my point? Okay, so I just want to use the figure to let you know what does it mean. We want to use the variable and fit into the model and derive the prediction result. In the previous case, what does it mean? We intend to use temperature and speed of wind to predict whether it is rain or not tomorrow. Am I correct? And because we have the prediction result, or what we should say, we have the data whether it is rain. So this is the supervised learning. This fall into supervised learning. Can you get my point? Okay, so if you don't have a problem, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so usually we can use scikit-learn or Keras to solve those problems. Okay, so in this case, we would fit in the variable, fit in the data to predict whether it is an apple or not. It should be a classification problem. Am I correct? And also, we can predict the stock price based on some variables, okay? And we can find out some model in scikit-learn or in Keras or TensorFlow, okay? So regarding the classification problem, you can see there are a lot of algorithms over here. So this is what Stanley talked about. When you have a data and the data related to the result, and then you would choose the right model. So if you encounter a classification problem, and then you would choose the classification algorithm over here, you don't choose the regression model to solve the classification problem. Am I correct? Is it okay for you guys? If you don't have any problem, let's move on. Again, once you have a classification problem, if you want to apply neural network, you can use Keras. Okay? Is that okay for you? Come on. So, again, once you have, a regression problem, you also have a lot of a model to solve the problem, regression problem. Again, you can find out it in scikit-learn, or you can use TensorFlow or Keras. That is okay. Come on, any questions? No? Again, why I have to mention about this? Because even though you have the right data, you also have to choose the right model. And the model basically can be divided into two parts once you have the prediction result. The first one could be classification, and the second one could be regression. All right? Also, once you want to apply the algorithm, you can find out it in scikit-learn, or you can find out it in Keras or TensorFlow. Okay? This is what Stanley wants to let you know. All right? Come on. If you know this, come on. I give you an example, okay? Come on. I ask you a question. Come on. Suppose that Stanley have an image recognition problem. So it would be a classification problem or a regression problem. So what is it? Come on, anyone can answer me the questions? Suppose that Stanley have, okay, go ahead.
Classification problem, because if they cannot recognize the image, consider about Stanley is not a robot. They didn't have sensor to sensing the humanity. All information they receive most is based on the image. So if they have the image recognition problem, they also have the classifying problem, because they cannot classify is a humanity 60% or 0%, something like this.
Yeah, that's right. So I just want to let you know, because I just want to jump on a conclusion, is that whether this one is Stanley or not. Okay? Yes, could be treated as 1. No, could be treated as 0. So this is a classification problem. So how about if I want to predict the temperature tomorrow, because I have to decide whether to wear a jacket or not. Okay, so I have to predict the temperature tomorrow. So if I want to predict the temperature tomorrow, so that is regression problem or a classification problem. Can anyone answer me the questions? Come on. If I want to predict the temperature tomorrow, okay, so it could be a regression problem or a classification problem. Come on. Okay, go ahead.
Classified problem, because if the temperature in tomorrow is 30 degree, but you see that is a 29 degree, it will become a classification problem, because the number is meaningful.
Okay, That is okay. It also can be a regression problem. It also can be a classification problem. Why? Because if I want to if I want to derive a continued variable, for example, I want to predict the exactly value. For example, 23, 40, and it could be a regression problem. Also, you can treat that one as the classification problem because, for example, I categorize the temperature as a high, medium, low. Am I correct? If I do so, and that could be the classification problem. So the boundary between this problem could be fuzzy, but you can use the data transformation to answer the questions whether it is classification problem or regression problem. And can you get my point? Okay, so I think you guys may know what is the classification problem and what is regression problem right now, and then we will move on the next slide. Okay, so what is the training data? What does it mean? We want the computer to know what we think about. We have fill in the data. For example, in this case, we want to train the model who he is. So we have feed the figure into the computer related to the result. For example, I have let the computer know that this figure and this one could be Kuo timing and this one could be Mark. Okay, and when I feed in the model, and I can train the model to jump on the conclusion. Okay, so what is the training data? What does it mean? We want to let this computer know what we think about, and we give them the correct data. Okay, and corresponding to the result. Okay, so there is another issue I have to let you know. The data set. Usually, the data can be divided into three parts. The first part is training set. The second part could be validation set, and the final one could be test set. Why we need it? Suppose that we have 100 data points. All right. So we would use the 80 data points to train our model and to test whether our model work or not. Use the race of 20. Is it clear? Come on, did you know what Stanley talked about? Why we have to do so? Because of course we can train our model. That is okay. But we have to test whether it work or not. Use the race of the data. Okay? And what is the function about the validation data set? The function is to modify the parameter during our training set. And finally, we can use the test set to see the effectiveness of the model. Okay, so I want you to keep in mind, we usually divided original data into several parts. There are three parts. The first part could be training set, and the second part could be validation set, and final one could be test set. And why we had to do that? Because we want to validate our proposed model, whether it work or not. Okay, so did you remember that in the first example I gave you guys, I assume the prediction result is reliable. And then I would use the result to help me to jump on the conclusion. Did you remember? How can I say the model is reliable? Because I have to test it. So how can we do that? This is the function of the test set. Any questions? Okay, so how about applications in our daily life? As you can see, there are a lot of applications. Okay, we always say that we want to use the image recognition in autonomous vehicles. That is okay because come on, it is really tired if we have to drive the car to go for work or go for somewhere I want to go. If someone can help me to drive to the destination, that is good. So how can we do that? We can use AI to use the image recognition to help us to arrive to destination. All right. The other one is that face recognition. What is that? For example, we usually go for work and someone would, your boss or your manager would check whether you come to company or not. You would use some application. So at that point, you would use the face recognition to confirm whether you come for work or not. Okay? Another one is that is a popular issue, right? Recently, aircraft fighting, okay, because we have a Ukrainian and Russian fighting right now, so it is a popular topic right now. Aircraft fighting, that is okay, but I just want to let you know why we need it, because we want to use AI to help us to make the decision or to replace the human beings. Why? Because some work would harm or hurt human beings, so we can use the robot or something to replace the human beings. Okay, but how can we use that tool? Because we have to let know what we have to do. Okay, for example, well, how can we train the car to let it know how to turn right or turn left or go straight? We have to let them know what is our destination, what is the traffic light. Also, we can go if the traffic light is blue. Oh, not blue, green. That is okay. Okay. So how should we stop the car? Because there is someone in front of the car, so we have to stop the car. Okay. Any problem? Come on. So I just want you to think about each of you have a lot of problem during your daily life. That is okay. But I want you to think about how can you solve the problem? How can you solve it? You would use the data. You would use the experience. But I want you to think about you have to solve the problem systematically. Use the data. Use the right model. All right? The model can be classification model or the regression model. Okay? So collect the right data related to the result and then choose the right model to produce the prediction result. And finally, explain the result to your user by visualization tool. I don't want you to use the numerical number or the categorical data. That is not good. Okay? So, in our daily life, we often use the face recognition. That is okay. So, you can see it could be the YOLO, okay? YOLO or RCNN, because they are object detections. Also, this one could be treated as the classification problem. Okay? And the next one is that. Come on, can you see that? If we want to predict the stock price, we can use AI. Am I correct? Come on, we are very busy recently. So if we can develop a model to tell us what is the possible result tomorrow about the stock price, we can make the money. Okay? So I just want to let you know there is a lot of AI application around our daily life. And I want you to think about what problem you have and how can you solve it by your experience. And I want you to collect the data, because if you want to solve the problem by machine, you have to teach them. Okay? But how? You have to let them know your decision process, because you can jump on the conclusion based on the data, and you have to let them know what data is. Okay? So I want you to use this figure to let you know why AI is so popular right now. Okay? Of course, come on, I just want to let you know. The image recognition has been proposed for several years ago, but why it is so popular right now? Because the first one is that the computation power. NVIDIA is a kind of example. The more you buy, the more you save. Did you know the founder of the NVIDIA always mentioned about the more you buy, the more you save, because you need a computer to help you to generate the result. Okay, so the computer in the previous time, it could not work. Why? It don't have a lot of the computation power to produce the result. Okay, so why can we derive the prediction result? Or why AI is so popular right now? Because the first reason is that computation power. Okay. The second one is that sensor data. Why? Because we always install or attach the sensor to the target because we want to collect the data. Okay? For example, if you want to predict whether it is rain or not, you can install, you can install a sensor, a temperature sensor outside, and then you will collect the data and to help you to, to predict whether it is rain or not tomorrow. Okay, so I just want to let you know why AI is so popular in recent years, because the first one is that the computation power, and the second one could be the sensor data. We have already collected a lot of data related to the result. And finally, we can use the data and fit into the model and finally produce the result. Okay? Is that okay for you? Of course, there are some key achievements. We always mention about AlphaGo. Okay, so I just want to let you know that AI is a key point in our daily life. Why it is so important? Because it helps us to make the decision. Okay, but why they can help us to make the decision? Because they have the data related to the result. They help us to find out the relation between the variables and the prediction result. And finally, jump on the conclusion. Okay, so remember, garbage in and garbage out, and choose the right model and visualize the result in the final. Okay, so because Stanley worked as the data scientist in the previous time, I just want to let you know there are four parts. There are four parts you should learn. Okay, the first part is that math and statistics. Why? If you develop the neural network model, you will know that batch size and the weights, it is related to optimization method, because you have to optimize the weights to let the prediction result close to the result, actual result. So it adopts the optimization concept. Okay? Why we have to mention about statistics? For example, if you apply logistic regression, it could be a statistic concept. Okay, so I want you to know that even though there are a lot of packages in Python, for example, scikit-learn or the Keras, you have to know why it works. Okay, why it works. Okay, because once you know it, you can revise it. Okay. The second part is that the programming and database. What does it mean? Did you remember why AI is so popular recently? Why? Computation power and sensor data. So someone will install the sensor outside to collect the temperature data, and then you have stored those data in the database. Okay, so once you intend to use the data, you have to query the data from the database. Okay, and how can you communicate with the computer? You have to use the code, or what I should say, the programming. Okay, so that is important to learn programming and database, because you have to collect the data from database and let the computer know what you talk about. and you have to communicate with computer by code. Okay. The third part is domain knowledge. What does it mean? What does it mean? For example, whether it is rain tomorrow, you would use temperature. You would use wind speed. You don't use the height of Stanley. Why? Because of your domain knowledge. That is, there exists no correlation among two variables. Okay? So I want you to keep in mind, use the right data. Use the right data. But how can you know that that is right data or not right data? You have to jump on, you have to use your domain knowledge to jump on the conclusion. Okay? And finally, come on, I want you to try to explain the result with your user. And this is what we talk about, the communication and visualization. Why? Once you produce the result, you have to communicate with your user. Okay? How can you communicate with your user? You would use the visualization result instead of the number. Okay? Is that okay for you? So I want you to keep in mind that if you intend to learn the machine learning, I would suggest you to learn linear algebra. Why? Because if you study the structure of neural network, you will see there are a lot of weight and can be represented in metric form. So I would suggest you to learn some linear algebra and optimization. Okay? Also, I want you to know that optimization and the statistics. Okay? Is that okay for you? I encourage you guys to know the statistics and the optimization and the linear algebra. Why? Because those are the fundamental parts in machine learning. Okay? Any problem? Come on, because you don't ask me the question. Come on, I only prepared those material. Come on, I want you to ask me some question. Come on. I just want to let you know. Come on, what problem you have? Come on, what problem you have, and what data you can collect, and finally to solve the problem, use the right model. Okay, is that okay for you guys? Come on. Wu Jialin, do you have any problem regarding the course? No? Okay, so in this section, I will let you know how to implement your model step by step, because I will offer you a flow chart. All right, so can you see the flow chart over here? In the training phase, did you remember? We have to learn the SQL. Did you remember? Because we have to query the data from database. Come on, can you see here? Because we have to query the data from database, so we have to learn SQL. Can you see over here? So in the first node over here is to query the data. Okay, can you see? And I will let you know the reason why I want you guys to learn something about database, because sometimes we will store the data on server. So we have to query the data from database. Okay, but how can we communicate with the database? We have to learn the SQL language. Okay, so you can take a look at it over here. So the first node is that we have to query the data from database. Okay, and then I will let you know you have to choose the right model. Come on, did you remember? We divided the machine learning into two parts. First part could be supervised, the other part could be unsupervised learning. Did you remember? In last section, we would talk about regression and classification and tell you that there are several models in each field. Did you remember? Did you remember? So I just want to let you know the first part, the data itself, we want to query the data from database and choose the right model because we have several type the model over here. Okay, and next slide, I will let you know once we complete the analysis, once we complete the analysis, we would use the visualization tool to show our prediction result. So there are three parts in flowchart, three main parts. The first part is how to query the data and apply the right model. And finally, finally produce the visualization result. Okay, so what should we do? In implementation, the regression model, you have to load the data. So can you see here? I just want to use this figure to let you know it is really easy to apply Python in analysis. Okay, so you can load the data, and to take a look at what is it, okay? And you have to pre-process the data. Why we need to pre-process the data? Because there might be the missing value among the data, so we have to cope with it. Also, suppose that there are a lot of variables and we don't want to waste the computation part, so we would perform a feature selection to select the important one. Okay, so the reason why we have, perform a data pre-process because there might be some issue in the data itself. For example, the missing value, or there are a lot of variables, so we have to choose the important ones. Okay, so load the data and take a look at the data and perform the data pre-process. Before we perform the data pre-process, we have to take a look at the data itself. Okay. Also, we have split the data. Did you remember? We have mentioned about usually, we often divide data into several parts. The first part could be training set, and the second part could be validation set, and the third part could be test set. Did you remember? So in the flowchart, we also have to divide the data into several parts. Okay, split the data. And we should apply the model. In this case, you can see we can apply linear regression or apply the reach because we have a lot of model and we have to choose one of them. Okay? Any questions? I just want to let you know how to complete an analysis report. Load the data and validate data. That is, take a look at the data, and if need, please perform the data pre-process. And finally, we have to validate. We have to see whether the model works or not. We have to split the data into several parts. The first part could be training set, and the other part could be validation set. The third part could be the test set. And we have to feed those data into the model, the right model, because we have a lot of model regarding the classification model or the regression model. Okay? And finally, we have a lot of model. And finally, we have to choose one of them. So how can we evaluate our model? In regression algorithm, we always use mean square error. Okay, but in classification, we always use the across F1 recall or precision. Okay, so I want you to keep in mind that in the training phase, you have to query the data and load the data in Python and take a look at the data and to decide whether it is needed to perform the data pre-process. If need, please do it. according to the data feature itself. For example, sometimes you may need to impute the data because there exists the missing value. Or come on, you have to perform a feature selection because you have a lot of variables. You have to perform the feature selection to choose the important ones. Okay? And then you can feed those data into your model. Okay? But you have to apply a lot of models, so you have to choose one of them. So you have to evaluate the model itself. Any problem? Come on. I just want to offer you a flow chart to know how to complete the analysis report. Okay? And we can use this one. Okay? It is similar. If we would want to implement our model in classification problem. Can you see here classification problem? It is the same. We have to read the data and take a look at the data and perform the data per process. But I have to let you know, in classification problem, we may need, I should say, we always need to transform the data. For example, the computer would not read the text. For example, the label data could be female or male. So we have to use the label encoder or one-hot encoding to transform the categorical data in another form to let the computer know it. Okay, so in classification problem, it is usually to use the one-hot encoding or label encoder to transform the discrete value data into another form. Any questions? So it is usually to perform a label encoder or one-hot encoding in classification problem. Also, we have to split the data into several parts, for example, training and validation and taste. Okay? And we also have a lot of models, so we have to try each of them. And finally, choose one of them. Okay? Did you remember? In regression problem, we always use the mean square error to evaluate our model. But in classification problem, we always use F1, accuracy, precision, and recall to evaluate our model. Okay? Also, we can do that. Come on. Any problem? Guys, I really want you to know how to perform a flowchart over here because you can follow the flowchart to complete your analysis task. Okay? Is that okay for you? Come on. Any problem? Alex, do you have any problem? Yiying, no. Yuxi, no. Okay, so again, what Stanley wants you to know first, what is AI? We want the computer to behave as human beings to help us to make the decision, to solve the problem. But how can they do that? We have to train them by experience. In other words, we have to collect the data related to the result to train the model. Okay? Most important is that we have to choose the right model because there are two fields in supervised learning. The first part could be unsupervised learning. The other part could be supervised learning. So in supervised learning, there are two types of models. The first part could be classification. The other part could be regression. Okay? And Stanley also introduced you guys about the flowchart to complete the analysis, load the data, and validate data. In other words, you have to take a look at the data itself and decide whether it needs the data preprocessed or not. And finally, feed those feature or variable into the model. Also, we have to know that there are several models we can apply. So we have to evaluate those of them. So regarding the classification problem, we can use, we can use F1, accuracy, precision, and recall to evaluate our model. But in regression problem, we can use mean square error to evaluate model and finally choose one of them because there are a lot of models in each field. Okay. Also, once you have determined the final the candidate, and then you can apply them to analyze your problem. Okay, so finally you have to visualize your result. Okay, is that okay for you? So in today's course, I will let you know the overall picture about the AI. Okay, most important is that, again, load the data by SQL, and there are a lot of type of model you would apply. Also, you should visualize the result. Okay? Most important is that you can follow the procedure to complete the analysis. I want you to keep in mind the flow chart about how to complete an analysis report. Okay, so any questions in this course? Come on, any questions? No? Okay, I think that my course will end here. Okay?
Thank you, Professor. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Any question for President? You can type your question in chat room or raise your hand.
I just want to let you know, it is really a popular field in AI. Why? Because it will help you to solve the problem. Okay, so I want you guys to think about what problem you have to collect the data and choose the right model to solve it. Okay, I know that we have blog. Am I correct? If you are shy to ask me the question by the Google Meet, you can use.
I see a question.
Yeah. If you are a beginner in this field, I will introduce you to read this one. Okay? Because I have already taken a look at this book. Okay? If you are the beginner in this field, I would suggest you to take a look at this book. Okay? Data Science from Scratch, First Principle with Python. Okay? Do I answer your questions? Okay? Thank you. So any questions? I was about the relation between GIS and MIA. Did I get an example? Thanks. Okay. Regarding this problem, GIS and AI, I would suggest you, okay, I can give you an example. For example, you know Professor Yang Ming-Der, he used the image recognition to see the status about the farm. So if you are interested in that topic, I would suggest you to ask for more detail about GIS and AI in next course. He would introduce his research field for you guys. Okay, but I can let you know. Sometimes you can use the autonomous aircraft to take the pictures and use those pictures to determine whether it should be the status of the farm. Did you know what I talk about? Okay, so I just want to let you know you can use the image recognition in GIS. Okay. Oh, how to choose for algorithm. Okay, so first, you have to take a look at what is your prediction result. It belongs to discrete or continue. For example, Did you remember the last example I gave you guys? I want to see whether this one is Stanley or not. Okay, Stanley, yes, no. This is not Stanley. So this is a binary variable, 0 and 1. In this case, it could be the classification problem because the prediction result belong to categorical data. Okay, but for example, if you want to predict the stock price tomorrow, it could be 80, it could be 90, it could be 100. It is a continuous variable. So you have to use the regression algorithm to derive the result. Are you okay with it? Okay? So, or you want to let me know how to choose the right algorithm. Okay, did you remember? I told you guys about evaluates the model. For regression, you would use mean square error. But in classification, you would use F1, recall, precision, and accuracy. Usually, usually, we often evaluate the model by accuracy because it is really straightforward. Okay, so if I were you, if I want to evaluate or I want to choose one of them, I would use accuracy. Okay, did I answer your questions? Okay, so any questions?
Professor, I see maybe Jhih-Fong have a question. He raised his hand.
Okay, so thanks for your great talk, Professor. So my question is because most of the image recognition AI or other similar AI, they classify the object from a micro feature. Like, for example, the YouTube driving AI, they can recognize the deceleration sign or acceleration sign or restricting sign, this kind of thing. But the point is sometimes this kind of micro feature can be wrong. It might cause some of the mistake feedback result for the AI. So in sometimes the macro but not micro, the macro's feature may be more reliable. So how can we tell the AI that sometimes the micro feature is not reliable when we should to remove it from this recognition system of the AI? Okay,
I got you. So I know your problem. You just ask me that there are some features you do not want to use. Am I correct? So you want to remove it.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
So I try to use the academic field, I should say academic perspective to persuade you the concept. Okay, if I were you, I would use UNet. What does that mean? Sometimes the concept of UNet is to see the detail of the feature you have and to determine whether it is important or not. So UNet is widely adopted in the medical field. Okay, so you can use the UNet to solve the problem because you would derive the reliable feature and fit it into the model. This is one thing. The other thing is that, sometimes we would use the extendable AI. What does that mean? We can see, which part would contribute to the prediction result. If that part is not important, we will remove that feature. Did you know what I talk about? If I were you, I would try UNet and try to use extendable AI to see which feature is not reliable. Okay, and then I will remove that figure or use some data per process to emphasize the part I have. Okay, so but before I use the data per process on image, I would use the extendable AI to see, what I learned in this figure. Okay, can you get my point? So I offer you two directions to solve the problem, but they may maybe work or not work. The first one is that you can choose the UNet to try that And the other one is that you can use the extendable AI and decide which part or which feature is important or not and remove it. Okay. Another one also, you can try the attention mechanism because it will help you to select the feature. Okay. Attention mechanism. I write it in here. It might be work. You can try it. Mechanism, attention mechanism. Okay. Is it okay for you?
Okay.
I hope this would help you to solve your problem. I hope.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. But the last one, attention mechanism, you really can take a look at because it would choose the importance of the feature. Whether it helps you to derive the better prediction result. Okay? Because I tried this mechanism for several times. Okay. Okay. Do you have any problem? No? Okay. If you don't have problem, I think we can end the course today here. Okay.
Okay.
Also,
thank
I
you.
welcome everyone to email me with the problem. I'm trying to answer your question if I know it. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Deng. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And everyone, please write down the answer for these two questions in this Google form. And if you have any question, you can also write down in this Google form, and I will pass your question to Professor Deng. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
Thank you, Professor Deng. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. See you guys.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.